when people talk about the American economy, I think what they mean, in not so few words, is it's not just how's the economy doing, how's the stock market doing.
Oh, right. Yeah.
It's more what is the stock market, because whenever you hear about like, oh, there's not enough jobs in America, we have to have more jobs. That goes with, we're losing jobs. We're losing jobs to Mexico. We're losing jobs to China.
and
It's
India,
like, okay, what are those jobs? Manufacturing jobs? Farming jobs? We're losing those jobs to countries that focus on that.
Yeah.
China is a manufacturing giant. You look at places like South America. South America can make more crops in a more, dense location than like any other. I mean, America is probably the next best, I would guess.
Yeah.
So my question in that sense, and I'm not saying that to, mitigate people that are struggling in an economic situation, because they don't really have control of that. They can only accept jobs that are available.
Yeah.
But my question is, okay, we import Chinese manufactured goods. Maybe we import food from South America. What are people importing from America? Entertainment.
Yeah.
America is the entertainment capital of the world.
Yeah.
Between Hollywood and Netflix and Amazon, all these things are located in the U.S. Pretty much. I mean, there are films and TV made everywhere, but about half of what people watch in other countries is American-made stuff.
It is. Yeah.
So my question is, what field are you in? If you're living in America and you're interested in manufacturing, that's not a Trump thing. That's not a Biden thing. Manufacturing will not be coming back to America. As I see this more globalization of economies, I see countries just hyper-focusing on what they already have. Why would you innovate in a field that you don't have like the natural resources for, or you aren't by default inclined to be good at producing this service or this product, when you could just maximize what you're already doing? So I actually think those types of things are going to get worse, not better.
Yeah.
And so you need to talk about that, and you need to adapt to that, because I don't think it's within any individual or group of people's control at this point, much like climate change. It's about adapting.
I'm really glad that you brought that up, because I really want to talk about free trade. So that kind of loops back to the topic, that we had earlier, like how our politics have changed. So I guess a little anecdote for me, when I was kind of coming of age into politics back in like 2015, kind of observing the beginnings of, what would become the, populism versus establishmentarianism debate with, Obama and Hillary and Trump and Bernie Sanders. I had a lot of big influences like Kyle Kulinski, of course, of Secular Talk. He's a very solid protectionist, and for a long time I thought, and Bernie Sanders also kind of had rhetoric, and obviously Trump had rhetoric about that was protectionist in nature, bringing back manufacturing jobs, doing tariffs.
Right.
And I thought, that's, we should do that because, we need to bring back the manufacturing jobs. I have moved, and I wouldn't even say I've moved right on trade, because I don't think it's a left-right issue. I have moved more solidly back into the, actually, no, free trade is good camp.
I had a history teacher in high school once that said there aren't many purely good things in life, but free trade is one of them.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's no consequence, just good for everybody.
Right. So, tariffs just don't work. They anger too many people, and they hurt. The Trump tariffs have hurt American
It just
farmers,
makes everything more expensive for everybody.
Exactly. It's it's a tax, and what you want is you want as many people employed as you can to have a healthy economy, but you got to adapt your industries. And so, especially with automation coming, manufacturing has been declining in the West for since the 60s. That happened before, Reagan. That happened before Obama. That happened before Trump. So, it's been going on for a very long time, and I do think that the jobs we've been replacing it with are, obviously they don't pay very well. A lot of minimum wage jobs. We need to raise the minimum wage.
They're not a fair replacement.
Yeah, service sector jobs. So you got to think about how you're going to adapt the economy for the future. And so this book that I've been reading by Stephanie Kelton, the Deficit Myth, about modern monetary theory. Even if you weren't to subscribe to all of the tenets of modern monetary theory, because it is like, if I were to put it on a simple left-right spectrum, it's left of Keynesianism. But it still is very much like she's working within the capitalist framework because that's the country that we live in.
Right.
And it's mostly focused on like the budget. And, okay, here's why deficits are not evil, because deficits can be good.
Yeah. That's such a big talking point for Republicans too.
Yeah.
Is, trying to pay off national debt or
Yeah.
something, which is funny because I've never seen any Republican candidate who has ever actually taken a stab at, transferring tax cuts or savings or anything like that to paying off debt.
Yeah, and paying off debt, is like, there's a question of if that's even a goal that should be, pursued at all, because
Especially at this point.
Yeah, because deficits, like the way she puts it, the government's red ink is our black ink, as the people, and there's still a reason to have taxes, in a society, even if you're not as worried about like controlling the debt and the deficit. But beyond that, like, she made a point, and she was considered. I mean, she's worked with Bernie Sanders. She was considered to be a potential like Treasury Secretary in a theoretical administration, Sanders administration. She gave probably the best argument for free trade that I've seen in a long time, which is that like, our trade deficit is our surplus of goods that we don't have, that we need, that other people have, that they want to sell. I mean, it really is as simple as that. So I have, and again, it's not, like I said, a left-right thing, because there's protectionists on the right, like, Pat Buchanan, and Trump, only in rhetoric, not in practice. Yeah. And there's protectionists and free traders on the left. So yeah, the free trade is natural, free trade is good. That's kind of the camp that I've landed in. Back in is and Jagmeet Singh in Canada is the leader of the New Democratic Party, is their like functional social democratic party. Mm-hmm. He's not a protectionist, but he's he squares it in like terms of fair trade. What's a good trade deal consist of? Good environmental regulations, good labor protections.
It doesn't have to be one of those things. It can be all of those things.
So like the TPP, for example, and NAFTA, those are bad trade deals in my mind, because they give too much away.
Right.
And NAFTA has hurt American manufacturing. It's hurt Mexican farmers. It's hurt there's sectors in every each of the economies where it's helped and hurt. And the TPP was just like dystopian nightmare scenario. Corporate boards being able to override national sovereignty. Like, no, that sucked. But like in concept, it really is about a case-by-case issue of, how do we go about engaging in trade.